in the year 2019. We are passing through the stress of COVID-19 pandemic situation. Yet, due to all the kind and sound support by providing digitalized campus management, which and architect and to this and dedicated management is dignified staff and enthusiastic students and is opportunity to welcome chairperson of student function Shri Pankaj Shivalkar sir, Vice President of SKES Society, guest of honor Shri Khair Sawant Shivram Sawant Bhosle sir, to this auspicious occasion, and also I heartily welcome Mrs. Khebraj Sawant Bhosle, who has graced the august gathering. Also, I would like to welcome our resource person, Dr. Ashutosh Poddar, renowned literary figure, English professor, University, the pioneer university in the liberal education Pune, and at the beginning itself, I express my sincere thanks to him for accepting our invitation in spite of his busy schedule. Also, it's my privilege to welcome our respected chairman of SKE Society, Shri R.D. Shandhar sir, who will be joining us on YouTube channel. I welcome Shri Shah sir, Shri Thakur sir, Shri Kalbhaggi sir, Shri Valavekar sir, Deshpande sir, Ajgaonkar sir, Ittur madam, Narkarni madam, Jnanesh sir, and all respected members of SKE Society, and all invitees to the Founders Day program. I welcome all principals of our sister institutions. I welcome all our staff of RPD PU and degree, GSS PU and degree, headmasters of and our senior colleagues of our schools, members of press and media. I heartily welcome each and everyone who is present here on both offline and online mode. And I'm sure the twists, the shifts which are occurring in the educational field in the advanced world today will be properly communicated through our today's topic, New Age Education, Challenges and Way Forward, which is a need of the hour. We pay tribute to our remarkable founders, members, through this discourse. Let's begin our fruitful discussion ahead with resource person, Dr. Ashutosh Poddar. Thank you. Once again, a warm welcome to one and all. Wish you all good health. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Moving on, may I now request Srimati Lata Ketu to take us through the journey of SK Society, right from its inception until today, through a brief profile of the SK Society, showcasing its growth.
Good morning of the days, all my friends. Who had the vision to see that higher education to the students of their hometowns was the only way to ensure a better life for them, and who had the will to get together to form an organization that would provide. Thus was formed society society on the 26th Maharani of Samanthodi. And that is how the artists are. The malaria and the events in Bangalore. Education relates along with industry is in Belgaum. And thus, company these is some palace with its is able to run post-graduate and PhD. Dr. Prabhu, Sri S. Deshpande, and many others. Sure that the College Institute was shifted to prospered handed over Cherapati High School to the society. Similarly, Swadhyaya Vidya Mandir was handed over and to the RPD College of Arts and the Govindram Seksariya Science College. As the years progressed and he got from the vernacular medium schools to the own vernacular medium schools, and that 1990 with donations from school section in a very old commerce. We had a lot of students there, and we still do. In 2001, according to the university, the PU sections were, and immediately a couple of years, commerce sector started. In keeping times, into the postgraduate with starting MSc in organic chemistry. Immediately after, in the next year, 2010, unfortunately had to be discontinued. In 2015, we went in for MSc in biology. Last year, we went in for MSc in zoology. We applied for MSc as well. To reward the meritorious students and to help the needy but deserving students, the South Konkan Empowerment Charitable Foundation was set up. Over the years, many well-wishers, donors, staff, and coaches, train students from our institutions, NCC, NSS, provide them with a different outlook towards themselves. 3 hostels provide girls and boys with a sense of security, one in itself. An IGNOU study center in the nation for students so in yoga and in the library, second only to the one in the Karnataka University, is a magnet for outsiders seeking to gain information as well as to staff and to the students. Thus, provides opportunity to postgraduate and tries to realize the dream of its founding fathers and of the dedicated staff and members to empower every student with the knowledge to lead a happy, satisfied life and to do their bit for society as well. Thank you.
Respected dignitaries on the rise of the rise. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. In marketing, we say that a product is a bundle of attributes which makes it complete. Our today's chief guest is also a complete man with multiple traits and attributes. May I have the honor of introducing our today's chief guest, Dr. Ashutosh Poddar from Flame University, Pune, a bilingual creative writer, poet, playwright, critic, translator, and researcher, who holds a postgraduate in English, an MPhil in English, and a PhD in English from Sweden University. He has to his credit a work experience of almost 2 decades. Dr. Ashutosh Poddar is a researcher and creative writer in Marathi and English. His research interests also include narrative theory, colonial literature, and theatre studies. Dr. Ashutosh is the founder and co-editor of Akara, an online peer-reviewed journal of creative expression published in Marathi and English. His plays have been performed at several national and international festivals, such as Bharat Rang Mahotsav, the National School of Drama, Prithvi Theatre, the International Theatre Festival of Kerala, among others. He is the recipient of several awards for writing, such as Maharashtra Foundation's R.C. Datar Award and Government of Maharashtra's Ram Ganesh Gadkari Award. His play has been prescribed in the UG curriculum of the University of Mumbai. To state a few of its research fellowships and collaborations, may I make a few mention here. He has received a grant from Sharjah Art Foundation, UAE, to research and map the regional modernism in India, to co-edit Visual Arts Reader in the year 2021. He has received an award to develop the Global Crossroads Team course project, Literature and the Environment, in collaboration with Dr. Ernest Cole, and offer it to the students of Flame University, Pune, and Hope College, Holland in 2019. This project was supported by Great Lakes College Association as a part of its Global Crossroads initiative with a grant from the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation 2019. He has also received support from GMAA to attend the Oral History and Global Course Connections workshop at American University Campus, Bulgaria, to participate in a workshop to develop collaboration on oral history component to be introduced in the coursework in 2019. He has a collaboration on a research project titled as Performance Making and the Archive with Dr. Sharmista Saha, Faculty Department of Humanities, IIT Powai, Mumbai. He is a recipient of Arts Research and Documentation Fellowship awarded by India Foundation of the Arts, Bangalore, to research on the idea and practice of natak that emerged in the performance practices in early colonial India. The research falls under the area of culture and theatre studies and theatre historiography. He has completed a research project on Yakshagana, Theatre of Kannada with Guru Shivram Karan, Guru Sanjeev Suvarna, and teachers at Yakshagana Kendra, Udupi, Karnataka, with support from SPIC Packet, Mumbai, from May to July 1995. He has, to his credit, 4 books published in Marathi and few are in the pipeline. He has presented several papers at national and international seminars and also delivered lectures at the national and international seminars and conferences on diverse topics. He is also an active member of various professional bodies in Maharashtra. He has been bestowed with several awards and honors from various organizations for his contribution to literature. We have a multi-talented and multifaceted personality today amongst us to speak on the contemporary topic, New Age Education, Challenges and Way Forward. May I present to the august audience Dr. Ashutosh Poddar. We have amongst us Sri Khemaraj Sawant Bhosle sir, the grandson of the Rajmata, born in 1958, a BTech and a law graduate. He is also an educationist and as a member of the royal family has been involved in the education sector. Presently, he is the president and trustee of Sindhudurga Jilla Shikshan Prasarak Mandal Sawantwadi, president Mahila Arthik Samaj Sawantwadi, chief trustee Sadguru Satam Maharaj Trust Danoli, and president Khemaraj Educational Trust Sawantwadi, which runs schools and colleges in Sawantwadi. I present to you Sri Khemaraj Sawant Bhosle. May I have the honor of introducing in brief the president of our today's function, Sri Pankaj Shivalkar sir, Vice Chairman, SKES Society, Belgavi, an industrialist by profession, an educationist by heart, and a tall personality who believes in reaching great heights in all his areas, and is always with a new vision and smart ideas. He is the man who is paving the way for 9 years of this institution and bringing in a paradigm shift in the teaching learning atmosphere of the SKES.
Thank you, sir. The act of expression of respect and gratitude towards someone can be done in no better way than presenting of a flower. We shall now present a bouquet of flowers to our chief guests and other invitees. I request Shri Pankaj Shivalkar, the Vice Chairman of SKES Society, to present a bouquet of flowers to the chief guest, Dr. Ashutosh Poddar. Thank you, sir. I request Shri Pankaj Shivalkar to present a bouquet of flowers to Shri Khemaraj Sawant Bhosle, the guest of honor of today's ceremony. I request Shri Pankaj Shivalkar to present a bouquet of flowers to Shri Shivantilal Shah, Shri Kiran Thakur, Shri V.L. Asgankar, and Shri R.P. Deshpande. Thank you, sir. I request Principal Dr. Shobha. Thank you all. I request General Secretary and ladies representative to present flowers to the invited president of the dais. Now, moving on with the observance ceremony, we shall pay floral tribute to our founders. For this, I request our chief guest to garland the portrait of Rajmata Rani Kavitri Devi. I request others on the dais to join the chief guest. Thank you all. I now request our chief guest of honor, Srimati Kemra Saran Bose, to say a few words on this occasion.
Sri Pankaj Shivalkar, the president of today's function, Sri Shevantilal Shah, honorary president of the SKES Society, honorable chief guest, Sri Pankaj, honorable trustees of the society, members, office bearers of the society, members, principals and staff, students and my friends. On today, the occasion of the Society's Founders Day, I have been requested to say a few words regarding Rajmata Srimant Rani Parvati Devi, who was your first founder. And with this, to make it short also, as I'll say a few words on her life and then continue on. Srimant Rajmata Rani Pranavati Devi, as we know, was born in May, on the 1st of May, 1907, into the family of the Gaikwads of Baroda. Srimant Sayajirao Maharaj, the pioneer in the royal families who built a revolution of education and governing, was her grandfather, and due to his presence and the way he built his state, she, following in his footsteps, did the same. She was educated in England, and she came back from England in the year 1922. She was married to my late grandfather, Babu Sahib Khemsao Maharaj of Sawantwadi. In between, she had governesses and tutors educating her in all fields of arts, crafts, education, and also governance. These were the influence factors in her life. Then, after she was married, she came to Sawantwadi, but unfortunately for her, her husband, my grandfather, expired at an early age in 1939, and therefore the whole weight of the governance of the state, the rule fell under her, as her son was of a younger age. He was only 10 and he was not given the right at the time to take the head of the state. So she, as a regent, ruled in his behalf. And in her time, she knew that there was a lot of fallback in the education principles which had been laid down, which was done by the British. There was an inadequacy in the state of not only education but food, roads, which conditions for them to come and get education. Hence, in her term of 14 years or so, which lasted at least 14 years as regent, she brought about a revolution in education, brought up a number of schools, following in a footpath and the footsteps of her husband, Sri Babu Sahib Maharaj, himself my grandfather, who also saw the necessity of getting education to the roots of our civilization. Then only we knew that there would be improvement in the lifestyle of a person, of a human being as such. Otherwise, education, if denied, made the person look inferior. But it's not only education, but it required also not just reading and writing, but it required something which had skills to communicate, which I think so part of it the education did give, but the knowledge and the wisdom brought down from teachers who could generate these and impart to the public. So these were inadequate at that time. And then she realized this education level to the primary level was there. But education, going to a college, doing more research and things were not there. So she thought about this and put up a college there, which was again in the name Sri Rani Parvati Devi in Sawantwadi, established a little small trustee-worthy people. But unfortunately, due to, as there was pandemic of malaria and disease, and maybe because of the inadequacy of medicine and all that, this college had to be closed down and resituated somewhere. So here along came a batch of people, persons from Belgaum who also saw the need arise of this and were interested in seeing that the society gets a substantial help, which they saw because the next generation and the further generations would prosper from it. So hence they took under them to bring this college here, and we are grateful that they have done this so and done it very well. They have established a very good name. We have seen how the members, how the trustees here have brought forth this educational institute to a certain level where even other societies will look forward in how to run a society, also how the education facilities are there and how to improve education facilities. It's an example for us also because we also started late in 61 later on, seeing this gap. Again, there was a gap. So we again re-established another college there. And this became like a alamata, what you can say, some guideline for us by looking at what is happening here and how we should also conduct our colleges. And you gave us a very good example on how to handle our institutes. We thank you a lot and we are very grateful for these facilities. Founders Day, as we are celebrating, is not only maybe a single founder, but it deals with all the other members, all the other trustees who are a group, because unless there's a lot of heads put together, minds to put together, it doesn't make sense. So, a goodwill of people whose minds are aimed at a particular target, who get together and hold and say that we will go to this level, we have to move these things and see if our aim gets realized. So this makes not only for us to be grateful for them for bringing such an institute or such a for our guidance, for our knowledge, for us to gain wisdom in. With us at present, there will be very few of them who are also doing the same thing. And I think we should be all obliged to the members of this trust who are still continuing with members of the older founders, their generation, their sons, whatever it is, and maybe including more people in it who will help them generate more knowledge, more facilities in institutes like this. Lastly, I'd like to end by saying a few words which my better half, Rani Shubhada Devi, has mentioned here to me to say to you. What she says is, she's giving a guidance, advisory to the students and maybe to every one of us. She says, remember your ancestors in your prayers every day. Have a vision, keep good health, and have the maturity to handle the future. This is from her own words. She's here, but as she may be not making the speech, I on her behalf, I'm honored to say these few words on her behalf to all of you, and thankful for her for putting these thoughts into my mind also to make me convey these words of wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further delay, may I please request the Chief Guest, Dr. Ashutosh Kota, to address the gathering.
All the dignitaries of the society and Principal Shobha Naik. First of all, I'm very thankful to you for organizing this event and inviting me for this, especially in the trying time of pandemic. It's a very tough time that we all are going through. And sometimes I wonder if this kind of opportunity is also the way of moving ahead, forward. And we as human civilization, we have been kind of addressing all the challenges throughout our civilization. And the pandemic is kind of modern day crisis. And we have been going through it for the last more than 2 years. And I'm so happy that we are reopening ourselves again and looking forward to see how this this world can be made more beautiful. When Principal Naik invited me and she spoke to me over the phone about this event, I just immediately said, yes, I'll come. Because I have my deep connections with Kannadigas, Karnataka, as well as this particular area between Kolhapur and Dharwad. I grew up in a place which is the border of Karnataka and Maharashtra. And half of my town, half of my native place has a range from Karnataka state. So when I move out of my place in Sangam, which is near Nipani, which is near Saundarga, Mangalore, when I come out of my home, I see, you are out of range because you're not in the range of, whatever Airtel or Vodafone Mobile offers you. And my family, my father, my grandmother, they all speak in Kannada as well as Marathi. And we can easily shift between both the languages. That's an amazing part of this world. And also I'm very, grateful and thankful, very fortunate to have blessing from Dr. Shivram Karan from Udupi. I lived with him. I stayed with him at Shaligram on Kundapura Road. And I have very, very fond memories of living with him, staying with him, eating idli sambar, and also doing Yakshagana practice at Yakshagana Kendra, Udupi. And now the principal of Yakshagana Kendra is Dr. Sanjeev Suvarna, who was then disciple of Dr. Shivram Karan. And I remember when I visited Dr. Shivram Karan for the first time, he was doing some andolan because his place, Shaligram, was facing some difficulty. So he was there outside, because he was a giant man of modern Indian time. And then I lived in Bangalore for a few years. So in a sense, what I'm trying to say is there is some deep connection with Karnataka and Maharashtra. In fact, I won't call them two different territories because there is something that connects us. And today also I'm meeting Thakur Saab, who is again a seminal figure in the history of Maharashtra in modern times. I was really kind of interestingly listening to Professor Kittur's introduction to the society's work. And she made a very interesting point, and that's where I'm going to begin with today. She made an interesting point where she mentioned that the society kind of historically moved on to give happiness and satisfaction to people in the society. And I see that's a brilliant point to make about any such institution which which is not just historically important, but also it's important in contemporary time. And that's where I would like to make my point is that education is not just about educating someone. Education is not just about providing someone job opportunities. Education is not something about earning degrees, but also education is about giving happiness to someone. And that's an amazing thing that one can achieve from education. And in fact, if we look at the historical processes of education, you will see that there is a kind of always dilemma between what education offers to someone. So one view says that education provides you an opportunity to earn well. That's where it says because you become wealthy because you educate yourself and you become wealthy. So basically, the whole idea of providing wealth through education emerged in modern times, especially with the colonial intervention, where people started saying that in colonial times, we started thinking about providing education in order to give degrees. And then through degrees, then through what you call specific formal processes of giving education, you earn something in order to become wealthy or wealthier. That's one. But there is also another view of educationists, of philosophers, who would say that the education is not just to make you wealthy or wealthier, but also it is about making you happy or happier. So the thing is that either you are wealthy or not, either you are rich or not, you will become happy with the education. And there is constant struggle between these two views across civilization. You see. So at one point, people would say that no, I'm going to get degree because I want to earn. But sometimes people say that, oh, don't worry about money. Money will obviously come to you if you have education. So one thing, I'm not saying that one is better than the other, one view is better than the other. But what I am saying is that these two views go simultaneously. These two views go together hand in hand. And that's how the education in India and across the world it has evolved. But importantly, what is necessary to understand is education is not just one frame of mind. Education is not just what you say. It's not just about educating. It is not about earning a degree, but also it's about combining different processes in our life and applying them. So on the one hand, there is a philosophy and there is also an application of education. And that's where my point would be coming, that if you look at historical processes, for example, today morning when we were discussing something about education, Chitra Naik's name came up and JP Naik's name came up. And also since I'm from Prolapur, I'm significantly influenced by Lila Patil, who kind of gave new vision to the history of education in modern India. So Lila Patil, or those people like JP Naik, who emerged in modern time, in the post-Nehruian era, what they did was they had certain frame in their mind, but also they tried to break the frame of education, tried to bring in newer ways of understanding and newer ways of implementing education, and to use very specific word, pedagogies in our system. But again, it's not new to Indians, by the way. It's not new to us. We have been grown up in an environment, in a tradition, in civilization, which is not just about earning degrees, which is not just about making us wealthy. There is also philosophical quest in our education. त्याला एक तात्विक अधिष्ठान आहे, त्याला एक चिंतनाचं अधिष्ठान, त्याला आपल्या जगण्याकडे कसं पाहतो त्याचं अधिष्ठान. So I always feel that the education is not just about doing something in the university or college or school framework. In fact, the schooling system is a very recent phenomenon. What is this phenomena in Indian context is non-schooling system. It's more about unschooling system. When we say unschooling or non-schooling, what we are saying that we need to remain open outside the framework, and that's where my practice these days, last few years, where I've been exploring different ideas within liberal education form. Liberal education, basically the idea of liberal education is where you try to break the frame of disciplines. So the way I am educated in my school, in my college, is that I was admitted in the first, second, third, and then 6, 7, and then 10, 12, 15. So this is the pattern. This has been pattern conventional. And this is not, again, if we look at historical process, it's not very Indian all the time. We have to go back to the Macaulay minutes in 19th century, where Macaulay for the first time introduced this system. But that doesn't mean that we are blindly following. Also, I always see this together. It's a kind of rhetoric we always get into. It's not true. If we say that if we keep on referring to all the time Macaulay, it's not true, because we have to also acknowledge the great contribution of people like J.P. Knight, Chitra Knight, because they also try to help us understand the vision beyond what was given in colonial times and after that. So, but basically now what is happening is that with the new vision, new society, people have started thinking about education again, and there is a rethinking process that's happening. And one point, of course, in the post-independent India, in 1960s, when Kothari Commission was set up, that was the first what you call attempt in revisiting education, and the second attempt, significant attempt, what you call, we must mention that has come in recent time with NEP, National Education Policy, and we need to look at national education policy and liberal education and historical processes of education in India together. We cannot just separate all these things. We cannot say that this is modern time, but we cannot ignore the work that has been done by our history, work that is done by all great people like Mahatma Phule, Savitri Phule, Ambedkar, Maharshi Dhondo Keshav Karvi, Naik. I mean, there are a number of people. I'm not here to kind of an expert to talk about that. But yeah, so now since NEP has emerged, and all of us are kind of trying to understand our position within NEP, National Education Policy, we need to be very conscious of a couple of things. One is this key, of course, NEP is not just a document. It's not just a document. It has also, it has certain philosophical underpinnings. There are तिथे काही तात्विक अधिष्ठान त्या NEP-ला लाभले. त्याच्यामध्ये आपण म्हणतो ना फिलॉसॉफिकल अप्रोच पण आपल्याला बघायचा. फिलॉसॉफिकल अप्रोच जो NEP-चा आहे त्याच्यामध्ये NEP डॉक्युमेंट मधल्या पहिल्या पानावरती जे म्हटलेले आहे ते मी तुम्हाला वाचून दाखवतो. NEP documents. India has a long tradition of holistic and multidisciplinary learning, from universities such as Takshashila and Nalanda to the extensive literatures of India, combining subjects across fields. This is what the first statement of the document says. Well, I'm not here to say that okay, let's revitalize our history. I'm not here to take any political stand. की आमच्याकडे एवढं सगळं होतं, महान परंपरा होती आणि आपल्याला ती जागवायची गुरुकुल परंपरा असं मला मुळीच वाटत नाही. कारण आपल्याला गुरुकुल परंपरेकडे पण क्रिटिकली बघायला पाहिजे, बिकॉज देर इज ऑल्सो हायरार्की इन गुरुकुल. There is also, social what you call social system that decides who can be guru and who can be shishya. And that was the social system that was challenged by Mahatma Phule and Savitribai Phule first, and we should also acknowledge. So in a sense, we look at Gurukul tradition, but we look at very critical perspective, from critical point of view. And instead of glorifying our traditions, if we can be critical, if we can be thoughtful about our historical processes within the changing social and political systems, we have to decide, one, the way forward, and second, in order to look forward, what are the newer pedagogies and methodologies that can be thought through, because the document is envisaging something very big. And in any system, either in India or abroad, in any democratic system that is being again controlled by certain political agenda, will always have challenges. Will always have challenges. Challenges at the level of implementation. So there is a philosophy. There is certain practice that has been historically going on in India, but there is also challenge of implementation. How are we going to implement that? For instance, very basic thing. I'm more a kind of a person who would like to get involved in informal processes in the class, because this is a much bigger space. So if we could workshop, say for example, I come from teaching background and I have been talking to teachers, my colleagues. One of the challenges is we keep on talking about interdisciplinarity, multidisciplinarity, but are we trained to do that? The question is no. आपण आज वर्गात बसून भरपूर बोलायला सोपं असतं. खूप म्हणजे आपण म्हणतो की इंटरडिसिप्लिनरी व्हायला पाहिजे, पण व्हायला पाहिजे म्हणजे नक्की काय व्हायला पाहिजे? सगळेच आपण बोलतो की आपल्याला आंतरशाखीय संबंधाची पुनर्स्थापना करायला. That doesn't mean that interdisciplinarity wasn't there. It has been there. It has been part of our life. Only thing is that through modern innovation or modern vision, sometimes we also tend to forget those things. आपल्या घरात स्वयंपाक करत असताना स्वयंपाकाची I think it's a very interdisciplinary process. आपण एखादं सामान आणतो बाजारात, भाजीपाला आणतो, घरात स्वयंपाक करतो, स्वयंपाक केल्यानंतर तो वाढला जातो किंवा आपण घेतो. बापयांचा तर स्वयंपाकाशी काही संबंध नसतो. But there is a certain kind of system, political system, there is a hierarchical system, and that's very interdisciplinary. I believe that's very interdisciplinary. So, we as a teacher, I'm talking for ourselves. I cannot talk about, I'm holding myself responsible for this. If NEP is coming ahead, what are the things that the teacher we should be following? What are the practices that we should be exploring? So from my point of view, I believe that since we are inherently in India, inherently our social and cultural systems are interdisciplinary, we need to be conscious of that. We need to be conscious of that when we enter our classrooms, when we enter with our certain kind of pedagogical innovations and methodological innovation. I'll give you a simple example. Go. At the school level, if you could see, conventionally speaking, छेडी लागे छमछम. एक होतं की पोराला काय पाहिजे तर छेडी मारा द्या पहिलं. Or another approach is conditioning a child. आज तू इंग्रजी शब्द पाठ कर, तुला मी एक चॉकलेट. आज तू हे केलास तर मी सिनेमाला तुला घेऊन. I grew up in the cinema. maybe now education has evolved, but I think that unconditionality towards education has to be challenged at the basic level, and that's where you become open. We remain open to different possibilities once we kind of take away that conditionality from education. I think that's one thing. So it's not only something that can be applied at the higher education. It has to be built through our school, and then so we have to also question the word school itself, the word college itself, word universities. Because school also there is a certain kind of hierarchy. So मी आज शिक्षक आहे, तर मी सांगतो ते तुम्ही ऐका. आपण ऐकवण्यासाठी येतो, ऐकण्यासाठी कमीच असतो. So I think आपल्याला शिक्षक म्हणून, as a teacher, we need to also evolve out of this process at school level as well as at the university level. So I can't talk much about school level, but of course I believe in unschooling system. I believe in non-schooling system. I know we can't change that much the society immediately, but I think at family level we can change. We can initiate that conversation at the family level. बऱ्याच वेळेला आपण वेग समाज बदलायला पाहिजे असं काहीतरी वेग म्हणतो. मला असं वाटतं की समाज बदलण्याच्या अगोदर आपण आपल्या कौटुंबिक पातळीवरती स्तरावरती आपल्या मुलांच्या बरोबर आपण कसा संवाद साधतो. जे अजूनही असं होतं का की कॉलेजमधनं माझा जॉब झाल्यानंतर, युनिव्हर्सिटी मधला माझा जॉब झाल्यानंतर घरी गेल्यानंतर थकल्याचा आविर्भाव करत अजूनही मी कोच्यात पडून चहा मागतो का? If that is the model as a teacher I have in my mind, that's inbuilt in my mind, how am I going to offer something to my students, which is at the core of it is an extension of home. All these institutions, when I heard her talking and when I heard Sawant Saab also talk about how his family had evolved this institution, I realized, I get a sense that you didn't build something out of vacuum. It was part of your family system. It was part of your home, idea of home. So society for these big institutions were not something very, very separate, isolated from the institution building. I guess in 1940s, 50s and 60s, that was pre-independent time. When the entire system was developed by Thakur, Savants, they might have seen this as a part of the extension of their family. घरातलं सगळं करून एक भटकत कुठली तरी इकडची एकर जमीन 2 एकर जमीन जमवत हे सगळं उभं केलं. So I believe that it's there. We haven't been able to acknowledge that. So first thing, I think if this is an extension of our systems. Our systems that are inherent, we need to look at ourselves and reflect on our own acts as a human being before we say something in the class. म्हणजे आमच्याकडं मराठी भाषेत शिक्षण घ्या सगळेच म्हणतात. म्हणजे आता तरी किती रिसर्च ग्रांट्स, पैसे किती मिळतात प्राध्यापक. We don't have to rely on library all the time. We can also buy our own books. मी नाटकातला आहे आणि नाटकातला असल्यामुळे मला बऱ्याच वेळेला प्रश्न पडतो. म्हणजे थिएटरमध्ये नाटक करताना शिक्षक लोक नसतात. म्हणजे हे माझं ऑब्झर्वेशन. म्हणजे मी किती बरेच वर्ष कोल्हापूर आणि जवळपासच्या लहान लहान गावामध्ये काम करत असतात. सकाळी नाटक आम्हाला उठायचं. म्हणजे मी सकाळच्या कॉलेजमधला जरा मधनं मराठी पण बोलतो, मला छान वाटतं. तर सकाळी 7:30 आमचं सही करायचं आणि मग रात्री रिहर्सलला खूप उशीर लागायचा. कधीच प्राध्यापक मला खूप कमी वेळेला दिसायचे की रिहर्सलला थांबलेत राहते. आमचं फार इंटरेस्टिंग स्केड्यूल असतं. सकाळी 7:30 ते आता तरी 12:30-1 वाजतात. पूर्वी जेव्हा मी सुरुवात केली नोकरीची त्यावेळेला 11:30ला म्हणजे कुलूप लागायचं कॉलेजला. भर दिवशी घरात येऊन दुपारची झोप 4 वाजता असं मजा करत असत. मला असं म्हणायचं की हे we also have to be part of the system that is evolving. Now it's not just about what system is asking us to do through API and other things. How are we going to connect ourselves with this changing reality? Are we going to update ourselves through these terms that are given in NEP, that are given in multidisciplinarity? We don't have to also get into rhetoric by saying that नाही आम्ही लहान शहरात आम्ही शिकवतो. कुणी म्हणेल तुम्ही पुण्यात शिकवता, तुम्ही मला कुणीतरी सारखं माझ्यावर अर्वी, तू काय बाबा पुण्यात आहेस, तू काय बाबा इथं आहेस. म्हटलं मुद्दा असा नाहीये, मी माझ्या सांगावात शिकत असलो तर सांगावात पण इंटरडिसिप्लिनरी. ते शेती करणारे लोक सांगावात आहेत. शेतकरी हा अत्यंत आंतरशाखीय मनुष्य असतो. वन ऑफ द कोर ही इज इंटरडिसिप्लिन. त्याला माहिती आज आत्ता परवा कालच आमच्या त्याला माहिती होतं, माझ्या वडिलांना माहिती असतं, काम करणाऱ्या लोकांना माहिती असतं की आज इथं जर ठिबकची ही आहे, ठिबक सिंचनसाठी ही आहे टाकायची असेल, ही पाईपलाईन टाकायची असेल, त्याला काय बघून कळतं काय. सो द पॉइंट इज दॅट we need to identify our challenges without giving ourselves excuses and get into this whole thing. So I don't mean that we are not questioning the government. Of course, government has to be also questioned because there are no infrastructure facilities that are available. आज तुम्ही बघितलं पॅन्डेमिक काळामध्ये प्रचंड पूर पाणी आलं. माझ्या कित्येक मित्रांच्या कॉलेजेसमध्ये पाणी शिरलेलं. कित्येक ठिकाणी अजून इंटरनेटच्या सोयी, कित्येक ठिकाणी अजून दिवे नाही, कित्येक ठिकाणी लाईट्स नाही, कित्येक ठिकाणी अजून स्त्रियांना बाहेर स्वतःच्या मनाप्रमाणे पडतायत, कित्येक जातीतल्या लोकांना, धर्मातल्या लोकांना अजूनही परिगावात ठेवलं. Still there is a deep-rooted caste and class divide. So we know. But the point is that we also as a teachers, we have to also look into this possibility. And the second point is how do we practice it? मला आव्हान नेहमी वाटत आलं ह्याचं प्रॅक्टिस कसं करायचं. What is mean by internet? When we say, okay, there is a multidiscipline, but there is a methodology, ज्याला आपण पद्धत शास्त्र अवलंबावं. We have to come up with a method meaning the भरपूर B.Ed आणि M.Ed चे असतील. I'm not qualified to talk about, but I can discuss what I do in my class, and that's where that can be open up for further conversation. आणि मग आपण थांबू शकतो. In introduction, he mentioned that I did this course called Literature and Environment in collaboration with a faculty from US. So his name is Ernest Cole. So Ernest Cole, he comes from African context, and then he did his education whatever from Africa, and then he shifted to US. So what we had decided is that we will do a course in literature and environment. The whole idea is that you look into literature in India and Africa and see how it responds to environment and environmental changes. And that was the core of it. So what we did, we started doing with the literature from Rabindranath Tagore's writing, as well as from Amitav Ghosh, as well as some of the regional literatures that are written in Marathi, like for instance, Krishna Koth, he writes in contemporary time, Rajan Gavas, and many others who have been writing, or even Venkatesh Madhukar, Shankar Patil, Dama Mirasta. And of course, English writing, because I was also talking to students from US, Hope College. So my students were from both, from Flame University as well as from Hope College. So I had to develop the material in order to start conversation with both. So he brought some material from African context, and I brought some material from Indian context. If there is a Marathi or Hindi or whatever literature, I got it translated into English. If there was some African language material, he got it translated. So what was the whole thing? That we developed the methodology first in two ways. One way is that we looked at the material that has already been written, published. For example, plays by Rabindranath Tagore, some writing by different people. For example, interestingly, and that's where also I learned how interdisciplinary evolves, interdisciplinary practice evolves. Very interestingly, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, in his autobiography, has talked about his relationship with Allahabad. And that's where, he has connection with Allahabad and the river in Allahabad, and what a spiritual connection he had. And as I'm sure all of us are aware, a river in human civilization is an amazing thing. तुम्ही संत साहित्यातलं घ्या, इंद्रायणीचा काठ असेल किंवा नर्मदेचा काठ असेल किंवा गंगा तीर असेल. There is a range of material, and I brought that material into the discussion. I brought that material to the discussion, and students were asked to discuss this material through the classes. So interestingly, I was introducing African students as well as American students through the material that was brought in the class. So where does this interdisciplinary come? So one thing is that we were discussing the material at textual level, but also we had given an assignment to students to go in the public domain, to go into their neighborhood and interview some of the people through oral history method. And that's where interdisciplinarity also comes. So what I did, I took my students to locations around university, my university, say for example, Bavdhan, and that's one of the areas in Pune. Bavdhan, तुम्हाला माहिती आहे, बाव विहीर, जमीन, पाणी असतं तिथं धन. सो जिथं पाण्याचं धन आहे अशी ती जागा बावधन. And interestingly, I tell you, the students who came, of course, students from at my university, they come from quite a cosmopolitan context. They come from different language contexts. Some of them are Gujarati, some of them are Tamil, some of them are Marathi. So they went on interview people in Bavdhan, and there is a Ram Nadi also, which has been turned into Nala now, unfortunately. So now when they started discussing about this thing, people started telling them about the stories of river in Pune and how rivers are being shrunk nowadays and what we need to do. And this particular discussion we brought in the class, and they wrote blogs, they created video blogs through their practice. So as a teacher, I was interested in building new material that will go in the public domain. Because as a teacher, as a university system, we also need to go out in the public domain and talk to society at large. We cannot remain in a cupboards or in our PhD thesis or in our M thesis or in our projects. So interestingly, the students, they wrote assignments in the class, which were in academic format, but also they created blogs. They created YouTube videos, and they were kept open for everyone. And this also was introduced to students from US, from Hope College. So this is what I thought this could be interdisciplinary practice. And this, I thought, I mean, it's not always easy to run all these things, because your students also, they have to be encouraged, they have to discuss, they have to be kind of helped, supported. You need to have systems in place, you need to have infrastructure in place. But I think there is also some of the imaginative work we as a teacher have also. And we all stakeholders. For example, there are students, there are parents, there are teachers, there are institution builders, and there is at large there is society. We all have to help ourselves in this venture. And lastly, I'll mention a couple of points and I'll conclude. So I'm trying to bring one, historical processes of education in India, and also I'm trying to also look into NEP context, because all of us have this challenge. And government, just yesterday when I was coming to preparing for the talk, there is also a document that has come from UGC. I'm sure some of you have seen that, where actually the government is asking us to introduce lateral entries for students. So 1 वर्षाचं शिक्षण घ्या, बाहेर पडा. 2 वर्षाचं घ्या, डिप्लोमा घ्या, बाहेर पडा. 3 वर्षाचं घ्या, डिग्री घ्या. 4थ्या वर्षाचं घ्या, ऑनर्स घ्या. सो ऑनर्स घेतल्यानंतर 5व्या वर्षी तुम्हाला जर शिकायचं असेल तर यू ऑल्सो गेट मास्टर्स डिग्री. आणि मास्टर्स डिग्रीमध्ये रिसर्चचा कॉम्पोनंट खूप स्ट्रॉंग. I'm sure you people will discuss that at level, but all things have to be also addressed because there is also choice-based system that has come in. So government is asking institutions that you introduce this choice-based system where a course can be done from other place and that can be also accumulated in your what you call pool of course. Sir, NEP सांगते असं की तुम्ही ह्या वेळेस तुम्हाला जर 36 क्रेडिट्स घ्यायचे असेल तर 36 3 क्रेडिट्स तुम्ही इतर कुठल्या तरी घ्या. मग त्यांनी ऑनलाईन सिस्टम तयार केली आहे. आता तुम्ही ते पण बघत असाल, सरकारचे ऑनलाईन कोर्सेस असतात तर ते म्हणतात की तुम्ही तिकडून पण ते 3 क्रेडिट्स अक्युमुलेट करा. लाईक यू क्रिएट अ बँक ऑफ युअर क्रेडिट्स. And toward the end of your education, suppose you want to say, no, I'm done with this education. मला आता यापुढे नाही शिकायचं, 1 वर्षाचा कोर्स नंतर मला सर्टिफिकेट द्या, मी जातो, बाय, थँक्यू. ते पण असं पण ते म्हटले 4 वर्ष आम्हाला थांबायचे, 4. सो हे सगळी प्रोसेस आणि परत कॉम्प्लिकेटेड आहे. त्यामुळे आपल्याला 2-3 गोष्टी आपल्याला सगळ्यांना समोर ठेवायच्या, ज्याच्यामध्ये मी पण स्वतःला ठेवतो. आय एम ऑल्सो टीचर. आय एम ऑल्सो ट्राईंग टू अंडरस्टँड, implement and see what are the ways forward. So जुन्या मला असं कधी वाटत नाही की we should leave away older. मला still I believe those people, old school English learners, त्यांना शेक्सपियर सगळा पाठ असतो, ते सगळं पाठ असतं, सगळे फोन नंबर सगळे पाठ असतं, सगळं पाठ असतं, सगळं त्यांच्या डोक्यात. माझ्या वडिलांना अजून त्यांना मोबाईलवरती काही सेव्हच केले, त्यांना ते नंबर टक 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 टाकतात सुरू करतात. हे मला अजूनही छान वाटतं. भुरळ घालतं, अट्रॅक्ट्स, कारण त्याला डिसिप्लिन. अजूनही भाषा त्या लोकांची छान आहे. तरखडकरच्या भाषेच्या मालिका जर विकत घेतल्या तर त्या खूपच मदत होते आपल्याला. ओल्ड म्हणजे असं काही म्हणायचं पण कारण नाही की ओल्ड इज गोल्ड, असं पण भाषण देण्यात काही पण नसतात, पण ती निवळ भाषणच असतात ती ओल्ड. आणि त्याचं ग्लोरिफाय करण्याचं कारण, बट व्हॉट एव्हर इज ऍप्लिकेबल वी कॅन टेक इन, but old ways of learning we have to think through and also address. The second thing is that also there is new academic leadership has to evolve. It's not just about student teacher, but also different stakeholders have to evolve. They have to also look at the processes from a distance with a learner approach. त्याच्यामध्ये व्हायला पाहिजे. There is also systematic change that's happening. And importantly, what I realize nowadays, there has to have kind of communication between different stakeholders. अजूनही पालकांना आता जे काही 10वी-12वीचं चाललेलं आहे गोंधळ, अजूनही ऍज अ पालक म्हणून आपल्याला गोंधळ कळत नाही नक्की काय करावं. माझ्याकडे जे विद्यार्थी येतात त्यांना लिबरल एज्युकेशन मध्ये शिकायचं असतं. लिबरल एज्युकेशन मध्ये शिकल्यानंतर जॉबचं काय करायचं हे माहिती नसतं. BA झाल्यानंतर जॉबचं काय करायचं हे माहिती नाही. BSc, BE काय कशाबद्दल गोंधळ आहे. आय थिंक दॅट कॅन बी सॉल्व्ह ओनली थ्रू डायलॉग. आणि एवढंच नाही, मला stakeholders, we are talking not only about parents and students, but also we are talking about different stakeholders. समाजामध्ये NGOs काम करतात, political thinkers असतात, political activists असतात, social activists असतात. So we need to also build that kind of thing. And of course, we are toward the direction where 10 plus 2 plus 3 is being scrapped. If you look at 2030 down the line, that's the document it says. हळूहळू त्यांना ते 10वीचं. आणि मला तरी ऍक्च्युली असं वाटतं की काही शिकायचं ते शिकतात मुलं, त्यांना काय शिकवा काय शिकू नका ते शिकतात. 10वीचा एकदा शिक्का मिळाला, 12वीचं झालं की मला त्याच्याबद्दल आपण कधीतरी सविस्तर बोलू. कधीतरी आपल्याला आपले पर्सनल अनुभव शेअर करायला वडील म्हणून पण मला आवडेल कधीतरी. आपल्याला तो एक आपल्याला संधी घेऊ शकतो आपण. पण मुद्दा असा आहे की ही पॉलिसी लेवलवरती आपल्याला बदल करावे लागतील. And I don't mean this key. Someone has to give us policy, but also at the local level, if we could increase the dialogue, enhance the dialogue between institutions and local stakeholders, that would be a great opportunity. I know these are all the challenges. कारण आपल्याला सगळ्या वेळा आपल्या शिक्षकांची आपली बरीच कामं पण असतात. ते सगळं खूप असतं आणि आपली सिस्टम खूप इव्हॉल्व्ह होत चालली आहे. आपली वय पण वाढत चालली आहे. आपल्याला पण शिकण्याचं मेंदू मधल्या जागा पण थोड्या कमी होत चालल्या आहेत. ते आपण सगळ्यांनीच करायला पाहिजे. त्याला आपण म्हणतो की रिथिंकिंग प्रोसेस हे करायला हवी. So in all, yes, I'm looking forward to this NEP exercise. Though of course there are limitations because government also sometimes it's also coming through certain different political agendas. We need to be very conscious of that as well. We cannot be just like romanticizing all that is happening around. So we need to also think about social and political and economic changes in our society. इथल्या आपल्या जात धर्म व्यवस्था ह्याचा पण लिंग व्यवस्था जेंडर सिस्टम ह्याच्याबद्दलचा पण आपल्याला विचार करायला लागणार. We cannot be just glorifying education. Education has to be a part of larger social and cultural systems. Yes, here I would like to say thank you again for inviting me for this beautiful event, and I'm really honored to be given for this opportunity of sharing dais with all of you and all the faculty members and students who perform very beautifully. And in this beautiful town, and which is kind of confluence of different cultures. I always feel that there is something on the highway of Pune to Dharwad and Hubli. There is some cultural thing. So भीमसेन जोशी सबाई गंधर्व आणि सगळं जे खूप काहीतरी आहे. आणि आता गणेश देवी पण धारवाडमध्ये राहते. GA कुलकर्णी नावं ज्यांची घ्यायची तेवढी कमीच आहेत. आणि बेळगाव किर्लोस्कर नाटक मंडळी. What a thing. So I think I also feel responsible for that because I locate myself somewhere on the highway. I feel very responsible for that because we are not there just to glorify our history, but also we are equal stakeholders in taking forward this history. And I believe such institutions give us strength every time, and we take the strength. And thank you for giving this opportunity. Okay.
The ever-growing debate over the stretch of our known civilization, that is education for wealth versus education for creating happiness, the debate of unschooling versus schooling, unconditioning versus conditioning, the philosophical underpinnings of the NEP stresses upon interdisciplinary, multidisciplinarity, holistic, liberal education, and a note of caution over possible political agenda likely to be pursued at the implementation level. Well, sir, thank you for your wonderful talk, bringing the Indian mythology, Macaulay, and NEP on a single canvas. I now request Pankaj Shivandar, the President of the Function, to make his presidential remarks.
Dignitaries on the dais and off the dais. It is always difficult for the president to speak when two good speakers have already spoken. Well, two messages come to my mind. One, I read that in a university in South Africa, at the entrance it was written that you don't require missiles and bombs to destroy a nation. You just lose the quality of education and the nation will come down itself. And second, there was a teacher who asked the students to, what would you like to become or what would you like to be in future? Everyone said that they had to write it. They wrote down, some said doctor, some said engineer, some said. She was going through it and she read one boy had written happiness, as he has rightly said. He wants to be happy. So the teacher called the boy and said, young man, you have got all the assignment wrong. What I had said. The boy replied, ma'am, you have misunderstood life. You have misunderstood life. What is life? So, as they say, when you have a good foundation, success comes your way. With the good foundation laid by Honorable Rani Parvati Devi and the family, and the other co-promoters and founders of this institution, we are able to provide quality education at affordable rates and in an environment which will give happiness to the students. In this rainy season, when I see a student with an umbrella, I always symbolize the umbrella with SKES society, where students hold this and he says, with this roof, under this roof, I will go from KG to PG. And with the help of everyone, we have already reached the PG stage. And in another few years, we will definitely cross the PhD stage. We have started MSc Zoology and Physics this year. Chemistry and Botany are already started. We are starting with research centers for chemistry this year, research center for botany next year, followed by physics and zoology, and MSc in maths. As you rightly said, sir, the only thing permanent in life is change in anyone's life, and one has to adapt to it. We are doing the same here. And ma'am and sir, we do remember you, we do remember the ancestors, and we get encouragement from you and your family, and we are growing step by step. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Before we conclude the ceremony with the concluding remarks by Srimati Bima, Vice Chairperson of RPD College Managing Committee, may I inform all the assembled that we will have the rendition of national song to mark the end of the program. I now request Srimati Bima to make her concluding remarks.
Namaste to everyone. Dignitaries on and off the dais, today's chief speaker, our guest, Khemraj Bhosan Sahib, and all my friends, and of course the SK family members. I thank you all for your gracious presence. And I thought that today's chief speaker, Dr. Ashutosh Poddar sir, was a very, very apt personality at this moment. Because let me follow his footsteps and put some words in Marathi too. We are on the threshold of getting into new things, new changes, autonomy. We are going to have a cultural wing this year onwards. And I thought his guidance would be very, very precious for us. And I would request him that hereafter we'll be always in contact with you. ज्याला आपण म्हणतो मराठीत की त्यांनी बऱ्याच गोष्टी सांगितलेल्या आहेत शिक्षणातल्या. मी पण एक हाडाची शिक्षक असल्यामुळे मी नेहमी शिक्षणाकडे मुक्त शिक्षणाच्या दृष्टीने बघायचा प्रयत्न करते. परंतु आपलं थोडंसं दुर्दैव असं आहे की सध्याच्या जागतिक शैक्षणिक चढाओढीत आपण मार्कांकडे जे पळत चाललोय आणि संवाद जो हरवत चाललाय. इन इंग्लिश नाव एव्हरीवन हॅज स्टार्टेड पुटिंग द थिंग्स लाईक if a surgeon has a surgery on the patient, Definitely, if he is an unknown person and a family doctor who is with him right from his childhood will succeed even if he doesn't do the surgery. It's a little exaggeration, but you all can get into the feeling की जो आपल्यातला संवाद असतो, जो आपल्या भारतीय परंपरेत गुरु शिष्य परंपरेत का ते जास्ती चांगलं आणि शिस्तबद्ध शिक्षण होतं, परंतु सर्वांग शिक्षण होतं, कारण एकमेकातला संवाद जो आपल्या कुटुंब व्यवस्थेत आणि शिक्षण व्यवस्थेत हरवत चाललाय. तर जरी पूर्ण तसा प्रयत्न करता आला नाही तरी हिअर विथ द SK family in New Horizons we would definitely try to bring some good changes in education and like Rabindranath Tagore's examples or so many examples he gave. माझं भाग्य आहे की मी लीला पाटलांशी खूप जवळून ह्याच्याबद्दल बोललेली आहे शिक्षिका म्हणून. आणि तुमच्यापैकी किती जणांना माहितीये मला माहिती नाही की जर साखर शाळेचा जो कॉन्सेप्ट आहे कोल्हापूर मधला, की साखर कारखानदारांची मुलं जे एकेका खेड्यातून दुसऱ्या खेड्यात बिचारी फिरत असतात, त्यांना या मुक्त आकाशाखालची शाळा जी त्यांना व्यावहारिक ज्ञान देईल आणि थोडस शैक्षणिक ज्ञान पण देईल, अशा प्रकारचं काहीतरी जर आपल्याला करता आलं तर खूपच आपलं भाग्य ठरेल ते. पण आपल्याला सगळ्यांना माहिती आहे की द प्रॅक्टिकॅलिटीज अवर व्हर्नॅक्युलर मीडियम स्कूल्स विच आर डीलिंग विथ मराठी अँड कन्नडा फॉर सो मेनी इयर्स, हाऊ स्ट्रगलिंग पार्ट इट इज राईट नाव फॉर ऑल ऑफ अस वी नो. So that's the sad truth, but definitely we'll try to be overcoming all these things, and I feel that we all will strive for excellence, and that would be the real tribute to our founders. Now with all their blessings and your efforts, we had a glorious Platinum Jubilee celebration this year before last. Hamara Bharat this year will be 75th Independence Day. We have already started feeling proud with the Olympic medals. And I would also like to promise to all our forefathers, founders and everyone that we will also try our best to get good things amalgamated in the education. Thank you very much, Mansa.
Thank you, madam. With the kind permission of the president of the function, may I digress a little from the main agenda of the program. Ladies and gentlemen, as you all aware, the Indian sportspersons and athletes have shown an impressive performance thus far in the ongoing Tokyo Summer Olympics. The performance is one of the best in the recent times after the London Summer Olympics of 2012, wherein India won a total of 6 medals. This time, we may equal that or even better than that. The SKES Society always supports, nurtures, and promotes sporting talent. Its institutions have been consistently producing good sportsmen. On the behest of the president of the SKE Society, the SKE Society in general, and the SKE Sports Academy in particular, congratulate the Indian sportspersons and wish them every best for the rest of the competition. I request all the gathered to give a standing applause to our sportspersons at the Tokyo Olympics. In the same year, I am happy that members of the management of the SKE Society, in particular Shri Alexander, the Honorary Secretary, has taken notice and cognizance of the flower petal Rangoli created by Ms. Padma Shri Patil of P.Comman. She too deserves an applause. Ladies and gentlemen, please continue to be upstanding for the national song. I request Ms. Nupur Nalde to sing the national song.
Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Sujalam Sufalam, Malayaj Sheetalam, Sasya Shamalam Mataram, Vande Mataram. शुभ्रजोत्स्नां पुलकितयामिनीं पुल्लकुसुमितद्रुमदलशोभिनीं सुहासिनीं सुमधुरभाषिणीं सुखदां वरदां मातरं वन्दे मातरं वन्दे मातरं वन्दे मातरम्
Thank you, Bindu. Thank you. Wish you all the best.